The air in the diplomatic chamber felt thick enough to cut. Commander Kai Reeves stood rigidly at attention, acutely aware of how alien everything felt. From the iridescent walls that pulsed with bioluminescence to the towering Valari dignitaries who regarded him with cold, vertical-pupiled eyes. "Your species has proven resourceful, human," said Matriarch Elowen, her 7-foot frame draped in ceremonial metals that chimed softly with each deliberate movement. But resourcefulness alone does not merit alliance with the Valari collective. Kai maintained his composure, though sweat beaded at his temples. Earth's delegation had spent months negotiating with the technologically superior Valari, whose expansion into the solar system had humanity on edge. Their warships now orbited Mars. This meeting was supposed to be a formality, the final step before signing a non-aggression pact. "With respect, Matriarch, our delegations have already agreed to terms." A ripple of clicking sounds, Valari laughter, circulated through the chamber. "Terms mean nothing without proof of worth," hissed General Vorax from his elevated seat. "For millennia, we have followed the ancient way. Combat reveals truth that words conceal." Admiral Talia Frost, leader of the human delegation, stepped forward. "What exactly are you proposing?" Matriarch Elowen's lips curled to reveal teeth like polished obsidian. "The challenge of ascendancy. One champion from humanity against our undefeated warrior, Nyxera." She gestured toward a shadowed alcove where a female Valari emerged, her scarlet scales gleaming beneath ceremonial armor. Kai had heard whispers about Nyxera. The stories didn't do her justice. She moved like liquid metal, her lithe body radiating lethal grace. A network of scars adorned her face, badges of honor in Valari culture. Her eyes locked with his, and Kai felt something primal shiver through him. "The challenge is simple," continued Elowen. "Victory grants humanity our respect and alliance. Defeat." Her voice trailed off meaningfully. "And if we refuse?" Admiral Frost demanded. "Then we consider your species unworthy of discourse." General Vorax's hand rested on his ceremonial blade. "Your colonies would be repurposed." Mutters erupted among the human delegation. 30 million colonists lived in vulnerable outposts throughout the system. Without Valari recognition, they'd be defenseless. "We need time to select our champion," Frost stalled. "You have until the third rising of our moons," Elowen declared. "Choose wisely." Hours later, in the cramped quarters assigned to the humans, Admiral Frost slammed her fist against the wall. "It's a death sentence. Their physiology gives them triple our strength and twice our speed. No human could survive." "Maybe we don't need to win," suggested diplomatic officer Elena Vega. "Just showing courage might." "No," Vorax interrupted through the communication panel. "The challenge is to submission or death. There is no honor in noble failure." Kai stepped forward. "I'll do it." Silence fell across the room. "That's suicide, Commander," Frost said quietly. "I've studied their combat techniques," Kai countered. "And I've got something Nyxera doesn't. Human unpredictability." "This isn't just about you," Elena warned. "You'll represent our entire species." Kai nodded grimly. "Better me than someone with less combat training." Besides, he forced a smile, humans have a long history of beating impossible odds. Later that night, as Kai practiced in their makeshift training area, a shadow fell across the doorway. Nyxera stood watching him, her expression unreadable. "You volunteer for death, human?" Her voice was surprisingly melodic, with an accent that made each word sound like poetry. Kai straightened, meeting her gaze. "I volunteer to protect my people." Something flickered in her alien eyes. "Respect, perhaps? Or pity?" "Then die with honor tomorrow," she said softly. "It is the best gift I can offer you." As she turned to leave, Kai called after her. "I don't plan on dying, Nyxera." She paused, looking back over her shoulder. "Then you will be the first to survive my challenge." When she was gone, Kai resumed his practice with renewed determination, knowing that by this time tomorrow, humanity's fate would rest in his hands. The Valari combat arena resembled an ancient coliseum bathed in alien light. Thousands of scaled spectators filled the tiered seating, their excited clicks and hisses creating a cacophony that echoed through the massive structure. High above, in an ornate viewing box, the matriarch and her council observed with detached interest. Kai stood in the entry tunnel, trying to steady his breathing. The ceremonial garb they'd provided, a mesh armor that left his arms and much of his torso exposed, offered minimal protection. But that was the point. The Valari valued visible wounds as proof of survival. Last chance to withdraw, Admiral Frost murmured beside him. No one would blame you. Kai shook his head. Not an option. A reverberating gong silenced the crowd. Kai stepped into the arena, the red sand shifting beneath his boots. Across the field, Nyxera emerged from the opposite tunnel. She wore only the traditional combat wrappings that accentuated her powerful physique, her scarlet scales catching the light like rubies. Her head was held high, confident in her inevitable victory. Behold Nyxera, undefeated blade of the Valari, announced the ceremonial herald. The crowd roared. And her challenger, Kai Reeves of Earth. The silence that followed was deafening. The combatants approached the center circle, where General Vorax awaited. The rules are simple, he stated. Victory comes through submission or death. No weapons beyond those born of your bodies. His cold gaze lingered on Kai. May your ancestors witness your courage, human. Vorax stepped back. Nyxera assumed a fluid stance, her clawed hands positioned with practiced precision. I will make it swift, she promised. Kai nodded. I appreciate the thought. The gong sounded again. Nyxera moved like lightning, crossing the distance between them in a blur. Kai barely managed to dodge her first strike, feeling the air displace as her claws missed his face by millimeters. What followed was a brutal dance. Nyxera attacked with relentless precision, while Kai relied on evasion rather than direct confrontation. Each time her claws connected, they left shallow gashes across his skin. The crowd grew increasingly agitated at his defensive strategy. Stand and fight properly, someone shouted. By the 5th minute, Kai was bleeding from a dozen cuts, his breathing labored. Nyxera showed no signs of fatigue, her movements as deadly as when they began. Your endurance is unexpected, she acknowledged during a momentary pause. But futile. Kai said nothing, conserving his energy. The human delegation watched in tense silence as he continued his strategy of retreat and minimal engagement. 15 minutes passed. Then 20. Frustration began to show in Nyxera's attacks, sharper, less controlled. Kai had studied enough about Valari physiology to know their metabolism burned hot and fast. They weren't built for extended combat. At the 30-minute mark, sweat glistened on Nyxera's scales. Her breathing had quickened, her strikes slowing incrementally. The crowd had grown unusually quiet, sensing the shift in momentum. Kai saw his opening when she overextended on a lunge. He ducked beneath her arm and, instead of retreating again, stepped inside her guard. Using her own momentum, he executed a perfect throw that sent her crashing onto her back. The arena went silent. Before she could recover, Kai pinned her with a technique from Earth's ancient jiu-jitsu, locking her arm at an angle that would break even Valari bones if she struggled. Yield, he gasped, blood dripping from his wounds onto her scales. Fury blazed in her eyes. Never. He applied slightly more pressure to her joint, making her hiss in pain. Please, he whispered, for her ears alone. I don't want to break it. Something changed in her expression, surprise, perhaps, at his reluctance to cause unnecessary harm. For 3 heartbeats, they remained locked together, her body tense beneath his. Then, to the shock of everyone present, Nyxera relaxed. I yield, she announced clearly. The silence that followed was absolute. Then, following ancient tradition, Nyxera slowly rose to her knees before Kai. Her voice rang out across the arena. I acknowledge you, Kai Reeves of Earth, as my master. The Valari erupted in chaos. Through the tumult, Kai met Nyxera's gaze and saw something unexpected there. Not hatred or humiliation, but a complex emotion he couldn't yet decipher. Whatever it was, they both knew everything had just changed. I still don't understand why they've given us these chambers, Kai said, running his hand along the ornate wall of what could only be described as a palace suite. The healing gel on his wounds glistened in the ambient light. Nyxera stood by the balcony overlooking the capital city, her back rigid. They are not our chambers. They are yours. I am here to serve. 3 days had passed since the duel, and the political landscape had transformed. The Valari Council, bound by their ancient laws, had recognized humanity as worthy allies. But that was the least of the complications. According to our traditions, Nyxera explained stiffly, when a warrior of my status yields, their command transfers to their victor. You now control my battle fleet, 7,000 elite warriors who await your orders. Kai nearly choked. That wasn't mentioned before the duel. Would it have changed your decision to fight? Her vertical pupils fixed on him with unsettling intensity. No, but then it is irrelevant. She approached, moving with that liquid grace that still fascinated him. What is relevant is what happens now. My warriors are restless. You must address them. Kai ran a hand through his hair in frustration. Admiral Frost and the Earth delegation leave tomorrow with the signed treaties. I'm supposed to go with them. You cannot. For the first time, emotion cracked through her composure, something like desperation. If you abandon your position, another will claim it through challenge. The peace you fought for would collapse. So I'm trapped here? Nyxera's expression softened marginally. Not trapped? Elevated. You've been granted what no outsider has ever received, the right to command Valari. Kai studied her, noting how she maintained a precise distance between them, neither too close nor too far. And what about you? How do you feel about serving the human who defeated you? Something flashed in her eyes. Anger, pride, and something more complex. My feelings are immaterial. I am bound by honor. That's not what I asked. A tense silence stretched between them. Finally, she spoke, her voice lower. I have never been defeated. I have never knelt. I have never called anyone master. Does that answer your question? Kai stepped closer. I didn't ask for any of this. Yet here we are. Her breath hitched slightly as he neared. The council expects us to behave according to tradition. They watch us constantly. What exactly does tradition demand? Her scales flushed a deeper crimson. The relationship between warrior and master is multifaceted. I am to advise you, protect you, and... She hesitated. Attend to your needs. The implication hung in the air between them. I don't want a servant, Nyxera. What do you want then? Her question carried weight beyond its simple words. Before he could answer, the door chimed. A Valari messenger entered and bowed deeply. The warriors await in the grand hall, Master Reeves. Kai winced at the title. Tell them I'll be there shortly. When they were alone again, Nyxera approached his wardrobe and selected ceremonial attire. You should dress appropriately. As she helped him navigate the complex fastenings of Valari formal wear, her fingers occasionally brushed against his skin. Each contact sent a current between them that neither acknowledged. They will test you, she warned as she adjusted the final piece. Show no weakness. Standing before him, she straightened his collar with unusual care. For a moment, they were close enough that he could feel the heat radiating from her scales, see the intricate patterns in her irises. Why did you really yield? Kai asked suddenly. You could have continued fighting. Nyxera's hands stilled. You spared me unnecessary pain when you could have broken my arm. No Valari would have shown such consideration. Her eyes met his. It was unexpected. Something unspoken passed between them, a recognition that transcended their different species and circumstances. The moment shattered when the door chimed again. They grow impatient, she murmured, stepping back and resuming her formal demeanor. Remember, you earned your position through combat. They respect strength, not kindness. Kai nodded, squaring his shoulders. Lead the way. As they walked toward the grand hall, Kai noticed how Nyxera positioned herself slightly behind him as tradition demanded, yet close enough to intervene if threatened. Protector and possession. Advisor and servant. Neither role seemed to fit the complex woman walking beside him, whose submission had changed both their lives irrevocably. The ceremonial dagger embedded itself in the wall, quivering inches from where Kai's head had been a moment earlier. Nyxera moved with blinding speed, tackling him to the ground as two more blades whistled through the space they'd occupied. Third attempt this week, Kai gasped as they rolled behind a column. They're getting bolder. The Purity faction grows desperate. Nyxera's body remained protectively positioned over his, her scales gleaming with tension. They see our alliance as contamination. 2 weeks had passed since Kai had addressed the Valari warriors, earning grudging respect through a combination of human directness and strategic respect for their traditions. But not all accepted a human commander. Security forces flooded the corridor, too late to capture the assassins. When they were finally alone in his chambers, Nyxera paced like a caged predator. You cannot continue attending public functions, she insisted. The risk is too great. Hiding will only embolden them. Kai winced as he applied healing gel to a cut on his forearm, a souvenir from yesterday's assassination attempt. Nyxera watched him struggle with the application, then approached. Allow me. Her clawed fingers were surprisingly gentle as they took the gel from him. Neither spoke as she carefully treated his wound, her touch clinical, yet somehow intimate. Your Admiral Frost has been sending urgent communications, she said, breaking the silence. Earth grows concerned about your extended stay. They think I've been taken hostage? Worse. They fear you've gone native. Her mouth curved in a rare smile. Their exact words. Kai laughed despite himself. If they could see me now, jumping at shadows and waiting for the next assassination attempt. It's not just the Valari traditionalists you need to fear. Her expression darkened. I've intercepted communications from human military factions who believe you've been compromised. They see your command of Valari forces as a threat. Enemies on all sides, Kai murmured. Not all sides. Nyxera's eyes met his, intense and unwavering. I stand with you. The simple declaration hung between them, weighted with everything unsaid. Over the past weeks, their relationship had evolved beyond the rigid master-servant dynamic expected by Valari society. In private, they had become something else, partners, perhaps, navigating this unprecedented situation together. What? Kai asked. Why risk everything to protect me? Your position among your people could be restored if you simply stepped aside. Nyxera's scales flushed slightly. At first, it was honor. Then, duty. She hesitated. Now it is something else. She was standing close, too close for the professional boundary they'd maintained. Kai became acutely aware of her presence, the subtle heat radiating from her scales, the faint scent like cinnamon and lightning that seemed uniquely hers. Something else, he prompted softly. Instead of answering, she reached out, her clawed fingers gently tracing the scar along his jawline, a memento from their duel. The touch sent electricity through him. In all my centuries, she whispered, no one has seen me as you do. Not as a weapon or a symbol, but as Nyxera, he breathed. The warning system blared, shattering the moment. Nyxera instantly shifted to battle readiness, placing herself between Kai and the door. Perimeter breach, she hissed, drawing the ceremonial blade she always carried. Multiple hostiles. The lights failed, plunging the room into darkness broken only by the emergency illumination strips along the floor. Through the window, Kai could see similar blackouts spreading across the city. Coordinated attack, he concluded, retrieving the sidearm he kept concealed. Not just assassins this time. We must reach the secure command center. Nyxera pressed a hidden panel, revealing a passage behind the wall. This way. As they hurried through the narrow corridor, alarm signals blared throughout the complex. The passageway trembled with distant explosions. Who's attacking? Kai asked. Valari rebels or human saboteurs? Perhaps both, Nyxera replied grimly. Our enemies may have found common cause. They reached a junction where the passage split. Footsteps echoed from the left fork. Heavy, armored movement. Trap, Nyxera whispered, pushing Kai toward the right passage. Go. I'll hold them. Not without you. Kai gripped her arm. Their eyes met in the dim emergency lighting. Without warning, Nyxera pulled him close and pressed her lips to his, a human gesture she'd obviously studied. The kiss was brief but fierce, conveying everything they hadn't said. I am no longer your servant, she whispered against his mouth. But I am still your protector. Now go. Before he could respond, she pushed him through the doorway and sealed it behind her, turning to face whatever approached from the darkness, her blade gleaming with deadly promise. The command center was in chaos when Kai burst through the emergency access panel. Tactical displays showed simultaneous attacks across the city, the coordinated effort of human extremists and Valari purists who had found unlikely alliance in their shared hatred. Commander, Lieutenant Vexer, one of the few Valari officers who'd readily accepted Kai's authority, rushed forward. We thought you lost. Nyxera, Kai gasped. She stayed behind to hold them off. We need to send a team. An explosion rocked the facility, cutting him off. Through the surveillance feeds, he watched in horror as rebels breached the outer defenses. Impossible, Vexer hissed. They knew our shield frequencies. Traitors in our midst, another officer growled. Kai's mind raced. For weeks, he tried to balance human diplomacy with Valari strength, walking a precarious line between two worlds. Now both were crumbling. Open a channel to Admiral Frost, he ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing the Admiral's concerned face. Reeves, what the hell is happening down there? Coordinated insurgency, Kai replied tersely. I need confirmation. Is this sanctioned by Earth Command? Frost's expression hardened. Absolutely not. But I can't deny some fringe military elements went dark 3 days ago. Kai, if you're in danger. The transmission dissolved into static as another explosion hit closer. They're targeting communications, Vexer reported. We're being isolated. The doors to the command center burst open. Kai raised his weapon, then froze in shock. Nyxera stood in the doorway, bloodied but alive, supporting a wounded human officer, Commander Jackson from Earth Security Detail. Found him fighting rebels in the East Corridor, she explained, helping the man to a chair. He says they're planning to detonate explosives beneath the council chambers. Jackson looked up, his face grim. Rogue elements from both sides. They want to destroy the Alliance by any means necessary. Kai absorbed this, then made his decision. Vexor, evacuate the council. Jackson, coordinate with Earth forces to lock down the spaceport. He turned to Nyxera. You and I will handle the explosives. Her eyes met his, understanding passing between them. Together, they moved through battle-scarred corridors, a synchronized unit. Where Kai lacked Valari strength, he compensated with tactical thinking. Where human intuition failed, Nyxera's centuries of combat experience guided them. They found the demolition team, 3 humans and 2 Valari working together, in the ancient catacombs beneath the council chamber. The fight was brutal but brief. As Nyxera disabled the last explosive, Kai secured the surviving rebel. Why? He demanded. Why destroy everything we've built? The Valari rebel spat. She calls you master, while you pollute our bloodlines with human weakness. Is that what you think this is? Nyxera approached, her voice dangerous. Weakness. She knelt beside Kai, but her posture was different now. Not submission, but partnership. I call him master because he earned my respect through strength you cannot comprehend. The strength to show mercy when victory was his. Her hand found Kai's, their fingers intertwining. Human and Valari joined. This is not contamination. This is evolution. Dawn broke over the capital as the last pockets of resistance were subdued. In the council chambers, Matriarch Elowin surveyed the damage with ancient eyes. The old ways have nearly destroyed us, she acknowledged. Perhaps it is time for new traditions. Admiral Frost stood beside her, representing Earth. Both our peoples have extremist elements. But what you and Commander Reeves have built here proves cooperation is possible. Kai and Nyxera entered together. No longer was she a step behind him as tradition dictated. They walked as equals, their battle-worn appearances testament to the night's struggles. The traditional bond between master and yielded was meant to ensure peace through hierarchy, Elowin observed. Yet you two have created something different. Not master and servant, Kai said firmly. Partners. Nyxera's scales flushed with emotion as she addressed the council. I once yielded to him in defeat. Today, I stand with him by choice. Murmurs spread through the gathered leaders of both species. Tradition-bound Valari elders exchanged glances with pragmatic human diplomats. What you propose is unprecedented, Elowin said carefully. So is peace between our kinds, Frost countered. In the silence that followed, Kai turned to Nyxera. The formality between them had dissolved through combat and crisis, leaving something deeper, a connection that transcended both human and Valari understanding. I never wanted you to call me master, he said softly, for her ears alone. Her lips curved in a smile. What would you have me call you instead? His answer was to draw her close, no longer concerned with who might witness this breach of protocol. Their lips met, no longer an act of desperate farewell, but a promise of something new. Around them, the future of 2 species began to reshape itself. Not through submission or dominance, but through the unexpected alchemy of 2 warriors who had found in each other something worth fighting for, a new kind of alliance that would change the stars themselves.